I can see an innate desire, sword in hand, warriors side by side. I can feel it, it burns like fire. Worlds collide, an unstable landscape, side by side. But that's what this man digs. Be it might and unlikely allegiance, we will fight because that's the best defense. No turning back, for such is our path. This day we find a glorious death. Glorious death. Our goal, our mission is clear, as we ride against a dark empire. By my soul, may the last thing they hear be the roar of this raging choir. Disobey the savagery mindset. Night and day, we'll let loose and find it. Brutal will define our reaction. Rip out the throat of each one in perfection. No turning back, for such is our path. This day we find a glorious death. Fear not, my friend, for right is the path. They shall remember glorious death. Glorious. The angels have fallen, my allies are beaten and broken down. I shed not a tear. After all, this is why we are here. A war we were not supposed to win. If I'm to die tonight, I'll kill every demon that stands in my sight. Go! You must shake me a fool. I'll stand on the skeletons of every goal. But if I'm to die, well, this very night, I'll kill every demon that stands in us. No turning back, for such is our path. This day we find a glorious death. Fear not, my friend, for right is the path. They shall remember glorious death. Make them remember glorious death. Glorious
Yo, guys, I am live. I am a little bit late, so this week's live I scheduled to be at 8, and I started live streaming like nearly 40 minutes after that, so I apologize to whoever was expecting me to be live at this particular time, being 8 p.m. I wasn't, because I do the community post usually Wednesday or Thursday, although sometimes it's been like Friday. with how crazy things have been since I moved up to New Hampshire. But typically, when I was really on lock, I would do 7 p.m. or actually, I would do 6 p.m. Um, every Friday, and then I moved to the 7 p.m. and I was still pretty consistent with that. And this is the first time I've ever live streamed where I've been late. Although it's a very typical thing for YouTubers to be late in live streaming. So I'll give myself this one time. Hopefully you guys give it to me too. But we've got the Definitive Isom Collection to talk about. But I definitely wanted to explain myself why I was a bit late. Is that there was a potluck that I went to for the Free States New Movers potluck. I was there, and I got a little bit caught up in conversation. I socialized too much. I was being a little too, as Garfield very much pointed out, a little too homosexual at that potluck, which is why I'm late. So I apologize greatly for that. So hopefully you guys can bear with me. But we do have the Definitive Isom Collection to talk about. And this is actually a pretty interesting one, in that it is going to be, just simply the first 3 issues of Isom. Of course, the entire ill-advised arc. And this is not Isom ill-advised as you would think it would be, if you're doing a collected series of the ill-advised arc, but this is the Definitive Isom. So I imagine this is what they're going to do at Definitive Isom Volume 1. So there's going to be a Definitive Isom Volume 2. That might be 4 through 6. It might be 4 through 8. Isom 4 probably might be like a 72 pager, and then you might have some 56 page issues after that. But Isom, from my understanding, is going to be going on a little bit of a break. Yes, and as Garfield says, we'll talk about the card folder because I'm definitely getting one of these as well. I'll be showing it off on Braxcast, and I'll have like all the boxes next to them, and I'll snap my fingers, and then they'll all be in the deck. I'll be in this beautiful card binder here. Absolutely love this card binder, and I've got the extension. I think it's like Imagus. I've had it on my. Oh, actually, we do have somebody. So, how are you doing, Ginger Wolverine? Nice to have you on stage. So, how you doing, fellow fan of the Rippaverse? So why don't you introduce yourself, and then we'll talk Rippaverse.
Yeah, I go by the name Ginger Wolverine. I've been a fan of the Rippaverse since the beginning. Actually, I don't know why I was even thinking about that, but yeah, I've been a fan for a really long time. I got into the Rippaverse same as a lot of other people. I was kind of tired of the people or the same stuff that was going on, that comic books just weren't the same as they were. They're doing a little bit better now, but that's what got me started into the Rippaverse, and I'm just passionate about comic books, and I like to do YouTube as much as I can, and TikTok and everything. So
Yeah, no, fantastic. I've seen some of your content, some of your shorts. I haven't gotten into doing shorts on YouTube. It's like the one thing like I need to get into. And of course, Garfield's happy to see you. We do have some overlap since, I make a lot of Rippaverse content. You do as well. So of course, there's going to be some overlap. So really interesting. And of course, modern comics have gotten a little bit better. I've been reviewing Battle Beast on the channel, and Battle Beast is a great series, right? But it's few and far between. And I did pick up like a Thing versus the Marvel Universe. I need to read that. That looks pretty interesting. But in between, you got to wade through I Am Not Starfire and the Harley Quinn Fartacular and John and Superman's homosexual son and all this nonsense. So of course, there's back, and plus there's back issues you can buy all day and night. Like you've got all that stuff behind you of Amazing Spider-Man 4, stuff from like the 70s, 80s, 60s, even older than that. That's much more worth your time reading than the current stuff that's coming out from the big two, especially. So, what in the Rippaverse? Since I'm a newbie to comics, I got into reading Invincible. That's why I like reading Battle Beast. But I got into the Rippaverse, and that's basically like what I'm really getting into with comics. And I got into Invincible as preparation for that. And also I watched the first season of Invincible, and I liked it. So I read all the comics, and I'm less like, well, I don't like the show as much after reading the comics, and I haven't watched the other, I don't know, 2 or 3 seasons. I think 2 seasons or so. Because it just kind of fell off from being an adaptation. But anyway, that's besides the point. Got into the Rippaverse as a newbie comic fan, so you're definitely having more experience with the medium. what is most appealing in the Rippaverse to you as a longtime comic fan or someone who's got experience with comics outside of the Rippaverse?
Oh man, the thing that I love the most about the Rippaverse is that they listen to the fans. And I know that there was quite a bit of backlash with Isom 1. And I think I will say this. I think Eric he did get a little upset about it, but I think he kind of forgot about his code of ethics at that time. And then he realized maybe I should just take this as a criticism, like good criticism, to make it better. And I think that like even Eric listens to some of the haters as well. As you can tell that he is improving every single comic book. And I'm not saying that I didn't like Isom or any of the other books. I'm just saying there has been massive improvements from just Isom 1 to now. And I think that, again, they listen to the fans. Like a few years ago, I don't know if it was a few years ago, maybe it was like 1 year ago, maybe like a year and a half, I was saying I really want a speedster in the Rippaverse. And I was like, I want someone that maybe has an experience in someone that's in high school, someone that's young like Peter Parker. And we have that now. And I just think that's amazing that all we had to do is just ask and they delivered.
Yeah. No, Blue Shift is a really interesting character because, he's that speedster. And of course, we want that speedster. We did have, I think her name is Salazar in Great War Separation 2. But she's more of a side character. And of course, she's not going to be part of the Rippaverse ongoing after the Great War Separation. I think, we can understand what it's going to happen.
We can hope.
Yeah, either in issue 3 or 4, she's not going to be with us anymore, unfortunately. But of course, Zephyr Arlen, if I'm getting his name correct, is going to be. And not only is he the speechless type, but he's this heart of gold, like good-hearted Peter Parker. And this is supposed to be like the start of his story. And then we see him as an adult. And I love for him to have this like true Peter Parker arc where he's trying to balance being a superhero with like holding down a job, but he just can't. Because that's the trope of Peter Parker, that like, he has no money, like he's broke, and he can't make any money off of being Spider-Man because he has to he's doing it out of the goodness of his heart. That's the thing there. So I'd love for Zephyr to have that kind of like character arc as well. That'd be a long-term thing if there's many issues of Blue Shift, if it's an ongoing series, which I think there's enough interesting ideas there that it could be. It's just how well the fans are going to respond to Ripazine 5. But yeah. I reviewed Ripazine 4 on Braxcast. I think that was 77. That was my most recent episode where I also interviewed Jay Brown, which is a really cool interview that I got. I was talking to Jay Brown. And Ripazine 4, best one yet, other than the lack of Harriet's Kitchen. That was the best issue of the Ripazine yet. They really got it down pat. So I'm thinking Ripazine 5 is going to be just like that. And I'm sure people are going to like that short story as well. And hopefully we get at least the limited series for Blue Shift, but an ongoing series for Blue Shift would be really cool. I think it's something that the Rippaverse needs, is to have an ongoing Blue Shift series where it really explores his story going from his freshman year of high school to, I'm 27 till, he's about my age, right? I think that would be a really cool series for us as the fans to have, and you could do a lot with that. And, Andrew's the writer on that. He's got a lot of ideas. And of course, Garfield asking for Bloodroof Black and White. Eric delivered on that one. Same with the card binder. I remember him talking about it, and then it happened. Something to store. I want that to store my cards as well. I'm tired of them having them in the cardboard boxes. We still need Alpha Core 2. I agree. We still need Alpha Core 2. And we need a full Dirty Deeds book, at least a limited series. And that's what I said. I think I'm pretty sure it's going to happen because the response from the fans to Dirty Deeds has been universally positive. And I guess we can talk about the Ripazine a little bit. I've liked every issue of the Ripazine. I've read them all. I'm sure you have. What's your take on the Ripazine? And how does it compare to stuff that, like, I'm sure, there've been other like fan zines and comic book zines I don't really have much experience with them. I know that I have like the one issue of Rocket from Comicsgate. This was like old Comicsgate. I think
Yeah.
I backed Rocket. I might have backed Rocket too, but I don't have it. Um, but anyways, that's like my only other experience. I remember flipping through that. But the Ripazine, I'm really invested in the Ripazine. And of course, I love those short stories. So what's your take on the Ripazine?
Well, I was actually the reason why I was turning around a second ago was because I was trying to figure out which one Ripazine number 4 was. But isn't that Catch and Kill?
Yeah, that's Catch and Kill. So that's a short story written by the Saskas. I forget who does the art on it, but let me get 1 second.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have it right here. So this is Kane and White's standard cover right here. Fantastic. And it is one, let's see. So we've got oh yeah, so Sebastian Garcia is the artist, and it's fantastic art. So we love Bart Sears. We love the work that he did on Salvage, and of course, Jay Brown colored Salvage, that short story. He did fantastic work on that. But I like Catch and Kill's noir style better than what Bart Sears did. I think it's a better execution. Not to say that the Bart Sears execution on Salvage was bad. It was fantastic, but Catch and Kill was just that good. And of course, the Saskas had a really, really tight script. Like you read that short story, it doesn't feel like 16 pages. It feels a lot longer than that. It feels like a much more complete story. It honestly feels like an issue 1 to an ongoing series. Like it's just that complete of a story, which is really hard to do in a short story. So I'd love to see more Catch and Kill. Like an ongoing series, I would take that. But to have a 6-issue miniseries would be something I would love to see from the Saskas because they've got tons of ideas. They got ideas for Bloodroof, for Yaira, for Michael and Lillian. Let's see. But who's your favorite Rippaverse character? Of course, Garfield is accurately pointing out that my favorite character is Braxwell. And of course, Garfield is Horseman. I like Horseman, but he's not as good as Braxwell. And of course, Braxwell is going to town on Horseman any day of the week, and you would acknowledge that as well. But who's your favorite character, Ginger?
Man, I gotta go with the Horseman. Right now, it's either the Horseman or Zaylin. I really liked Bloodruth when she first came out. That first book, that one's amazing. It was not my first horror comic, but more like, well, yeah, it was my first horror comic. And dude, that thing was raw. My wife actually ended up reading it, and she loved it as well. But
yeah, Bloodroof #1 is a fantastic book, and thing I like Bloodroof #1 not only for a book in itself, but around the time that came out is when it fulfilled is when I actually started live streaming. So that's yeah, so it's a cool thing for me as well. And that's like one of the first episode of Braxcast Live, I was going into Bloodroof and I was talking about that. It's actually talking about what in Genesis it mentions, because it mentions the killing of Cain and Abel, which happens in Genesis chapter 4, if I get it correct. If I'm getting my Torah correct, it's Genesis chapter 4. But of course, we got Mike Has Bad Knees in the chat. Nice to see you guys. And of course, I did start a little bit late. I was out and about and I was socializing for a little bit too long, but I definitely came back here. Nice to have you on. You couldn't come on last week, which is totally okay. I always plan to do these as solo shows. And if I have somebody else to gab with, it's fantastic. And it's really nice to have someone to bounce things off of. But going with Horseman, definitely, I think that's the fan favorite. It's been the knockout character. Ever since he got introduced at MegaCon, people have been really attached to Horseman, and they've kept the momentum going. They got Welcome to Flores Park. They got #1, and then right after #1, #2 is on. So they're really keeping the heat on with Horseman. Alpha Core, not so much. People like Alpha Core, but they have their own ongoing series. But we've kind of forgotten about it because they appear in everybody else's books. And it's well, they have an ongoing series. That Alpha Core #2 is it's just a glimmer in our eyes, and we haven't gotten it yet. We know it's happening. It's going to happen this year, but hopefully it's Alpha Core and Horseman that Chuck and Joe focus on, and then we might get like a Zalen limited series later on in the like probably sometime next year. I imagine is when we would get more Zalen, if we're getting more Zalen, and I honestly think that we would. So Zalen was a great book, and of course, I mean, I don't necessarily want to talk about Yaira Free right now. I mean, if you guys in the chat are okay with us going into Yaira Free spoilers, we can. But Zalen as a character from his, from his own book is really interesting, and he's definitely my hands down for me the most powerful character in the Rippaverse. Is Zalen. I think Zalen versus Yaira, Zalen would win. Like he would sweat. It would take him. It'd take a lot out of him to beat Yaira, but he would. And that's just my opinion. And would you concur with that?
Yeah, I think that they both are very powerful characters, but I think that if there were to be a fight between the two, or whoever is the most powerful, I would say that it is Zalen. They are both very stubborn characters, and so I think that they would not. It would be pretty much till they're both just on the floor. But I think a win-win, or I think that the win would be Zalen for sure. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. Although Mike is saying Zalen would body Yaira and it wouldn't be close. I disagree with it not being close. And you're also saying, wonder if Alpha Core 2 had what would be considered spoilers if it came out sooner. I think that's what Andrew was alluding to when he's told us, because he's been on my live streams multiple times. He said, when Alpha Core 2 comes out, at the time it comes out, it's going to make sense. That's what he said. So, yeah, so Garfield was saying that Zalen's the strongest besides Dokuman. I don't think Dokuman's that powerful of a character. He's definitely more like omnipresent, but he's not like all powerful. Like I think if Dokuman got into a fight with even Isom, he would sweat. Not to say Isom's weak, but I don't think Dokuman's like a strong character. Like I'm sure he's good at like using magic and everything, but his skill set is more or less being omnipresent, having the archives, and oh man. Of course, Blood Roof #1 is a really special issue because it's the first it's the outside of the Dokkan cards. That's the really only mention we ever get of Dokkan. So it would be cool to have like a Dokkan like series or a Dokkan book. I floated that out a long time ago. Is that the Saskas are writing a Dokkan book? Of course, I was so wrong about that. They're writing Yaira. They're writing Blood Roof. They're of course doing the Cursed at the Black Eye Club, which I'm really excited for. But we might, I'm not sure if we'll get that. I mean, Halloween is next month because it's already September, man. So I imagine we're either getting Blood Roof #2 next month, or we're getting the Cursed and the Black Eyed Club as like these double releases. But we still have, I believe, the Cursed, the Black Eyed Club, Blood Roof #2, Alpha Core #2, and then I think maybe like a couple others books in the Rippaveal that were talked about that we still haven't been able to pre-order yet, because we got Norfolka that's fulfilling soon. And also, I did want to talk about this as well. I just ordered this today, and it was the let's see. So we can do like this. We can.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So if you see the Norfolk concept art book, I didn't get the the signed and graded one. I just got this basic concept art book because I have to get these. Not that like I have to, but since
Yeah.
I am the I review all the books. I'm going to review this one on Braxcast along with the Saints and Sinners book. It'll obviously take a while, so I'll get all the Norfolk stuff in first, including like the vinyl, and like I'll get the cassette later. But this is going to be really cool. Can't wait to see this. Of course, Jen and Sylvia are doing the commentary on this, so this is a really cool thing to see. Let's see. So Garfield is saying if Isom swung at Dokkan, he'd probably teleport up farm's way until Isom to settle down and listen. It's like, yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you, Garfield, but that doesn't make Dokkan like a powerful character, like in terms of like being able to battle physically. Like he can avoid conflict, so he's conflict avoiding. I think you're feeding into the point that I'm making, but yes, I don't think Isom would be able to take down Dokkan, but Dokuman couldn't take down Isom. And I don't think he would want to. He wants to be this observer character. Let's see. So I'm using feats to determine winners. Yaira and Solari fought to a standstill. Solari couldn't stop the Eagle's Nest from crashing. Zalen was used as brakes for a ship traveling at light speed. Yeah, I think honestly that's a fair point, Mike. But well, I think he dropped out. Did he drop out on me? We don't have Ginger Wolverine in the chat anymore. If he comes back, he comes back. If not, then that's unfortunate. But he might have his internet or his power might have gone down. But if you guys can still hear me, I honestly, yeah, I agree with you, Mike. That's honestly a really good point that you're making. So, but I'm thinking Yaira might have gone easy on Brian because Yaira's got a bit of a soft spot for Brian. So maybe there's the possibility of Yaira intentionally toning things down when it comes to Brian Solari. But you're back in the chat, sir. I guess.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. So your internet went out or no, whatever. You had a little bit of a technical difficulty. Yeah, those happen all the time, man. My power my power was cut off because I signed up for the wrong service address. I had to get that ironed out. And then the internet was out for 2 days. But
oh no.
yeah, that was fun. But it's all good. It's all good now. But yeah, stuff like that happens all the time, man. So don't feel bad. But I'm glad you didn't rage quit on me. But anyway, so yeah, we were talking about this concept art book, and of course, I'm not sure if that was due to us hitting a stretch goal. Oh yeah, so 5,000 books sold, concept art book unlocked, and yeah, we're almost at 6,000 books sold. So it's because we hit that stretch goal, and of course, I would love for us to hit this 500K. But since it's closing in a week and we're at 254, I'm not sure if that's going to happen. I do think Norfolka, in its total run, because this is just number one, it's probably going to be a 4-part series. That's what they seem to be settling on for these limited series, or these limited series. I guess is the best term to use because Great War Separation is going to be 4. I think this is going to be 4 as well. So we got that concept art book. We also got this cassette tape. So I'm going to have to get a cassette player and a vinyl player to play these on Braxcast because I've got the table right behind me where I film all of my videos, and I'm so behind on reviews, guys. Forgive me. Been super busy. But I'm definitely going to get the cassette tape and play it, and these vinyls and play them. It'll be that really epic song. So I'm not much of a metal guy, but of course I use the Norfolka Glorious Death as my intro along. I didn't do it this episode. I usually have a bit of a longer intro, but I was late, so I wanted to get into streaming. And I'm glad that I did. We're having this fantastic conversation. But what's your take on Norfolka Glorious Death? Were you hyped for it as an ongoing book because you're a metal fan, or just because you're someone like me, you're just a comic fan, especially a Rippaverse fan? With how important Norfolka is to the Rippaverse, makes me really excited for Norfolka. And of course, that song of Dan Vasquez, it's a really good song. I've listened to it a bunch, and I like it. I like it every time I listen to it.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So there's quite a few reasons why I'm excited about Norfolka. One was because I've been waiting for it. Was what really grasped my attention when I first read Isom, and I was like, okay, I gotta stick with these guys now. Like I gotta keep going with Rippaverse. Oh shoot, what's his name? The guy with the red hair. Why am I forgetting his name?
Valadon. So Valadon.
Yeah, Valadon. Yeah. So, okay. So here's the thing. I love Thor. I'm both Norwegian and Scandinavian, and I have red hair, and he has a big, thick beard. I love metal. So, everything in this book is me. So I was just like,
yeah, well, I love mythology, like Norse mythology. And of course, like I love Yaira 1 on that basis, of course, with her story with Gorm. And for me, my theory is that Valdon was probably around when Gorm was around. And
Yeah.
decent chance Gorm was a god, or Gorm worshipped the Valdon as a god. That's a decent chance. Just thinking, if you read their Dokemon cards, these are two 7 foot tall gods that run a metal band and go on tour. They have a very storied past. Both of them, of course. Takari's got that African mythology. So this is, if you read the concept art book, the Isom concept art book, because Norfolka's introduction was kind of, I don't know, shoved in at the end is probably a bit of an apt term. There was a lot of stuff going on in Isom number one. That's the biggest criticism of Isom number one, is that there's just so much of stuff going on with Isom number one that it makes it a bit disjointed, which I can kind of agree with. But I think Eric handled it pretty well for his first outing as a comic book writer. And I do think, yeah, Valadon's backstory is going to be the focus of Norfolk number one. We've got these Warriors of Jotunheimel poster. If I can show it off here on the correct view.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, that's cool. And I got the I want it all for this, so I'll probably display the poster. I mean, I've got these on command strips, like I've said, and they're really nice to have. Like command strips are convenient, but it does make it a bit of a make it a bit hard to take them. Like if I want to take them off and put them back on, I'm gonna have to get new ones. But I definitely want to hang those up somewhere. But I'm already running out of space because I had so many posters I collected when I move, and then I move into this apartment. I get like 12 poster frames that I hang up basically all my posters. And I gotten like one more, so I've got like two more, and I'll have some more on the way. So yes, I do think Valdon's backstory will be the focus of Norfolk number one. And of course, this fragile peace with Jotunheim will begin to unravel. 2 years cross enemy lines on a diplomatic mission that quickly descends in turmoil, deception, conflict, and an emerging greater threat ignite a chain of events that will shape the destiny of the realms and echo in the song sung by Valadon and Takari. So definitely yes. So it introduces Asgarth, which is basically, their version of Asgard. Yes, I'm looking forward to that full Norfolka album as well, especially if Eric can get Dan Vask to do Valadon's vocals, because he really kills it in Glorious Death. Like he just goes to town on that. I love it so much. Of course, Eric does as well. Like I just love like the intensity of that, and it doesn't feel like metalcore to me. It feels more like hard rock, which suits me more. Because I don't really like the metal stuff. Like I like Veracity. Like I like his album. It's one of the reasons why I was willing to invest the Ripverse, is that I listened to Veracity. I've listened to it a bunch, and I was like, hey, this is actually pretty good. I like it. I really like Rap Circle. That's great. But Veracity, I listened and I was like, well, this is metal. This is not typically my genre, but it jives with me. So I was willing to give the Rippaverse as a creative venture a shot, and I'm very happy that I did. I'm sure you are as well.
Yeah. So I'll say this: I listen to Viking metal, and that's what it is. This song is Viking metal, but it's a very soft Viking metal song. That sounds crazy, but if you go and listen to other Viking music, it's very soft compared to other Vikings music. But I love that it was a lot more tone and modern than normal Viking music. So I really appreciated that.
Yeah, that is cool. And apparently Eric and Dan are going to do another reaction live stream, shouting out to people watching their video. Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched it live. I always play it as in the intros, and I guess I've given my commentary on Norfolk A Glorious Death. I love it as a song. It's a really good song. I've listened to it a bunch, and I want that full album, especially let's see, you can understand the lyrics better than Viking metal. Yeah, and I think that's the intention, Mike, is that they made this more of a hard rock song rather than for the metal, because metal is a real niche. I know people, the metal heads, they love metal, but it's a real niche. It only appeals to a small subset of people, whereas hard rock is going to be able to capture a lot more people. That's the intention that they were going for. They really knocked it out of the park with it, in my humble opinion. They really knocked it out of the park with the style that they went for. Of course, like the guitar, the drums, it all sounds really good, and the lyrics do, like the angels have fallen. Uh, I love just all the lines, and of course, listening to it each time, it's like you realize this is what the comics are going to be about. Because in Isom #1, I believe it's Valadon. I'm not sure exactly who. I'd have to pull up Isom 1, and I don't feel like rummaging through my short box down below me to confirm. But he says they'll find out our lyrics are not make believe, and of course we've got plenty of their lyrics, right? So that's that is that to me. So that's what really intrigues me about Glorious Death. It's just the implication it has for them as a comic. But of course, Garfield is asking the best Rippaverse book so far. For him, it's tied between Welcome to Flourish Park and Great War II. That's hard. For me, I'm going to say Yaira. So I'm going to say the entire Yaira series is the best book for me. So because 1 through 3 as like all together to me in my mind is a really, really interesting story. And then I probably after that would be either Bloodroof or Great War. And then I don't know, maybe even Horseman, because Horseman's been really good. So it's really hard. So probably would go Yaira, and then probably Horseman, then Bloodroof, and then I would say Alpha Core Zalen, and then probably I would have Isom and Gooding about the same. But I liked everything. I liked everything the Rippaverse has put out. So when I'm like ranking these, I don't think like Isom's bad. I don't think Gooding's bad. I just don't think they're as good as like Yaira or anything else. So yeah, Horseman, Bloodroof, Zalen. Is Mike has bad knees. Bloodroof is saying definitely number 3 for Garfield. Mike is also saying that metal is a broad genre as well as like rap in that way. Yeah, so rap can encompass a lot, of course. I think a lot of the modern SoundCloud mumble rappers are not worth listening to. But you can do like anything with rap. Of course, you can have the gangster rap. You can be Bryson Gray. You can have your, Bible rap. All those sorts of things you can do, because rapping is just rhyming words together to a beat. It's a very simple thing, and of course, metal is just hard rock. It's just going harder than rock. And of course, how much harder you go than rock is really up to the band's proclivities. And some they really lean into it. They're like new metal or very hard metal. Others they want to have a bit of a wider appeal. They like to be more on the hard rock side than metal. It all depends on what the group wants, what their fans wants. But for me, I've never really been a metal guy. I like rock and roll. So I like, Beatles, Pink Floyd. I love songs like, Helter Skelter. I need to listen to more like Led Zeppelin, but I love, like Stairway to Heaven's a great song. Queen's a great band. But that's where like that's, rock to me is like, that's what I love. Is that like 70s, 80s, like stuff that was made before I was born. Like I'm a bit of an old soul, so like the new stuff is not what jives with me, especially in the music industry. Like I don't want to listen to Sabrina Carpenter or Doechii or Justin Bieber or whoever. Sometimes there's a catchy hook here and there, but it's nothing like Bohemian Rhapsody. It's nothing like Hey Jude. It's nothing like you know these something like anything like the entire album of The Wall. My God. You just don't have stuff like that comes out today. And that's been, I don't know, honestly, the decline in the music industry was happening. Like Frank Zappa was talking about it back in like 92 or 93. It's been bad for a long time. But let's see. I do not like the Beatles, heavily overrated in his opinion. That's what Garfield is saying. That's okay. Yeah, a lot of people, I don't know, a lot of people say that. Like, I disagree. I think the Beatles are like, oh man, I think they deserve like the praise that they get there. They were such a good group. and they're so creative musically. But I can understand that take. But for me, the music really, even like their old stuff, really jives with them. And of course, everything they put out, from like Revolver to Abbey Road, that's like their best stuff. And of course, although people will say Revolver was their best album because that was the last album Paul was actually alive to make. If you know the theory that Paul died in 1966, I'm not sure if you're aware of that. Paul McCartney is dead theory, but that was something that really gripped people back in the 60s. Was that Paul McCartney died in like September 11th, 1966, and people will say that point to a whole bunch of stuff. But they'll say it was even something that was planned because if you look at the Revolver cover, Paul's face is to the side, all the others is to the front. And they'll say he knew that he was going to die, and they intentionally did it like that. So there's been a lot of wacky stuff people have come up with to justify that theory. It's all well in one debate, but Revolver as an album is really good. But anyways, I'm not here to talk about the Beatles. I'm here to talk about the Winifreds.
It's a good topic.
yeah, it's a good topic, but I don't want to get too derailed on this, so I'm not going to talk about the Roman Empire. What do you think about the Roman Empire? Because this is Garfield is the one who will not let this beam die. With my obsession with the Roman Empire, I could talk about the Macromotic Wars. We could talk about the crisis of the 3rd century. We could talk about the Edict of Milan in 313. We could talk about the fall of Rome in 476, or we could talk about the true fall of Rome in 1453. Well, what's your opinion on the Roman Empire?
You're gonna be a little disappointed. I don't have much of an opinion because I don't know a whole lot about the Roman Empire.
Oh, okay. So yeah, there we go. Thank you for shutting that down. We're not doing this, Garfield. No talking about. We're just on a tangent. One tangent per live stream. That should be the limit. But anyways, it is. It's getting. Let's see. Wanted to. Actually, and I accidentally added the wrong thing to stage. That was the intro. So we're gonna remove that. Here we go. So of course we got the Darfica Glorious Death. We're talking about Definitive Isom. So I pre-ordered the soft cover of this, just to have this, just to show it off, and also just to flip through it. But I got it with the Dokkan card bundle, binder. Cannot speak. And of course, you got another shirt. I've got a lot of Rippaverse shirts. I'm wearing my Spingy shirt right now. It needs to be a plushie. But I've got a lot of Rippaverse merch. It's all I like the like my Irish shirt, my Horseman shirt. I wear them to the gym all the time. I don't like to wear them at work, but I like to wear them like to the gym on the weekends. Like just really, really comfortable. So it's sure like I'm not opposed to getting it, just like I just don't need it. And my drawer is full. But let's see. So are you getting in on this omnibus? So this is something that it's in the 5-figure mark at $23,162 sold. But I think a lot of fans are not necessarily in need of this because they have the first 3 issues. So it's not something that is 100% necessary. I do think it's a cool thing, and it's a great way to get people in on the Isom series. So I do hope this is something that has a mass print cover associated with it. It doesn't seem like. Let's see if I can. But yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of Isom related stuff. So Definitive Isom Volume 1. Let's see. So if you go for the soft cover, but yeah, so this is the soft cover here. This is the hard cover right here. I mean, both of these covers are absolutely fantastic. Great. So let's see. So Kanan White is the hardcover illustrator. Fantastic work on that. And then, of course, you've got Eric Nienatowski. Eric Nienatowski on this soft cover, which is the one that I'm getting. This is a really epic looking cover. And this is, again, just to show it off on Braxcast. But this is going to be, a little over 300 pages. Because Isom 3 is like 100, nearly 150. Isom 2 is 127. Of course, Isom 1 is a 96 pager. So there's a lot that happens in this ill-advised arc, or there's a lot of content for Isom so far. So which is why it'll be a bit before Isom number 4, but I'm quite excited for Isom number 4. Although there is a little bit of a like, I don't know, there's something at the end of Isom 2 with the devilings that I don't feel is addressed in Isom 3 thinking back on it, but it certainly is something that can be addressed in Isom 4. I hope that it is. But I think Isom 3 does address a lot and gives the fans enough to want more, and if that's something that can certainly be explored in Isom number 4. But a lot of people already bought the year 1 for free 1,300 page omnibus, but this is cool to have. Same with the Trinity omnibus. Yeah, I agree. So I think, the fan base could be a bit omnibused out. But I do think this Definitive Isom collection is something that makes sense to have. It makes sense to have the Definitive Isom, and of course have these big collected editions run throughout. So Invincible does this with omnibuses. You can buy like all of Invincible and like I think 3 omnibuses, and there's like a slightly smaller ones, but there's like 3 big omnibuses. You can get all 144 issues. I got the trades over like 24 trade paperbacks, and I have them all in one of my long boxes. But you can get them in omnibuses. Some people will like to get the omnibuses and read them that way. It comes out to being probably about the same per page, but it can definitely feel more economical, and it's definitely easier to have that than to have all the individual issues. Although for the Rippaverse, it's going to be a little bit more feasible since these issues are 24-page floppies that we're dealing with, which I don't think there's inherently anything wrong with that monthly model. I do like it. I've been reading Battle Beast, and that's that typical 24 to 30 page monthly format. I think it works well. It works great for manga doing the monthly releases, especially releasing digitally and then releasing the collected editions later. I think that's something that's worked out really well. Of course, Shonen Jump, all the other magazines, they release them a bunch in one magazine, and then whatever actually is popular keeps on going and actually goes on long enough to have the collected things. Let's see. So what's the first comic you ever bought with your own money? For me, it's Mark Millar's Ultimates. Oh, man, I can't remember. I got into getting Invincible, but it might have been an Amazing Spider-Man comic that I bought. I bought a Amazing Spider-Man like trade paperback. I think so. I think that might be like one of the first ones, other than like some manga. But the one series I started buying like consistently on my own was Invincible. That's what I was getting with my own money. Although a good bit, because I was going to that comic book shop, and my parents would say, "What do you want for Christmas?" And I would say, "Just get me a gift card to my comic book shop so I can buy more Invincible," and they got it for me. But a lot of Invincible I got with my own cash. So I'd say probably what I really solidly remember putting my own money up for was Invincible, and then all of the Indiegogo books I was backing. And I got like really like in the beginning of like end of 21 with the Narzac free pack. That's what started it all for me. And then it was basically I got into Cyberfrog in January 22, backed a bunch of stuff, and then of course Reverse Launch, and I've been primarily into that. Sirbook Sage is saying Death of Captain Marvel graphic novel was his first purchase comic book, and then really nice to see you back in the chat, Sirbook Sage. So what about you, Ginger?
Yeah, I don't even really remember. I think because I'm trying to think about the comics that I got when I was a kid. So my mom would always go to the antique store, and that's how I got my comic books. I remember getting. I don't even remember which issue. I couldn't tell you because they're in a completely different state and storage. But I know that I got Falcon and Captain America, and I got a Power Fist and Iron Man comic. Or sorry, Power Fist and Iron Fist. Power Man and Iron Fist, sorry. Issues. I don't remember which ones, but I remember those specifically, so
Yeah, no, fantastic. So Iron Man and Power Fist is what you're saying?
sorry, no, yeah, I'm mixing it up. Power Man and Iron Fist.
Power Man and Iron Fist.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, fantastic. So yeah, I would love to. I remember I watched Iron Man as a kid, like the movie, because I was 10 when that movie came out, so I'm definitely a bit young. But I was really into that movie. I watched. I think I got out of being in the MCU by like the time the Avengers came out. I watched, yeah, because I watched like I really like Captain America: The First Avenger. It's a really good movie, in my opinion. The first four movie, of course, The Avengers is a really good movie as well. I think they're, of course, they're like they're not the most intellectual movies. They really started this bad thing with Hollywood where it got dumbed down into the superhero genre. But those like as films, I think they're pretty good. Um, Luke Cage was called Power Man. That's what he's saying. But the thing is that like I was the prime comic book reading audience traditionally when Iron Man came out, and I love that movie. They really should have done a better job at getting my demographic into reading comics because I was like in walking distance for the comic book shop, and they couldn't get me to read Iron Man. Like that is such a missed opportunity to me that they didn't like pack the Blu-ray with an issue of Iron Man or something like that to get people into reading it. Uh, no, there was just there was a passion of connecting these stories to the comics from on the creative end. John Favreau was talking about that. I think in like the behind the scenes of Iron Man, but there wasn't any of that passion in getting the MCU viewers to be funneled into the LCSs and actually support the series. Nor was there this concerted effort from Marvel Comics to link what the movies were doing with what the comics were doing. And that was really detrimental to the comics. And of course, you have all of this woke stuff coming in, which just really ruins it. So Garfield is saying the first ever comic book he ever read was his Uncle Wildcat from Image. He's like 5 years old. Might have been like some like Tintin comics that my dad had, if I remember reading those. But I think like my first experience with comics would be reading the funnies on the like Sunday newspaper. Stuff like Garfield and Doug, and Pearls Before Swine, and let's see, I forget. Oh, the Lockhorns, if I remember them. The Lockhorns. I think they have a good marriage. Um, but yeah, I think like those are the first comics I remember reading. Or the Sunday Funnies.
Nice.
What about you?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't have much to say on that. So I will say this though. When I actually just forgot my very first. So I guess I will say this: my very first graphic, not graphic novel, but first issue of superhero comics was. It was those Captain America and the Power Man and Iron Fist comic, but then I actually remembered the very first comic that I got was Calvin and Hobbes. That was the very first comic book. I completely forgot about that. So.
Oh yeah, I don't think I ever remember reading Calvin and Hobbes, but people really love that series. Absolutely, it's got a legacy. So let's see, Doug. I used to read Dick Tracy, Spider-Man, and Archie in the comics section of the newspaper. That's from PB. Nice to see you in the chat. Yeah, I know Archie's has been really popular, and that's like the I don't know. It feels like Archie's like this '50s high school kid, and that's basically like Archie. From my understanding, because I've seen it at LCSs. I know it's been really popular with people, but I've never gotten into Archie. I probably ought to read it some Archie. and I know about Dick Tracy. I know there was a Dick Tracy game on NES, so it's been around for a while. Like, it's run around before me. I know Dick Tracy's like this like detective, and I think like a yellow trench coat. That's his shtick. Um, and then I didn't know that Spider-Man was also in newspaper. Um, but yeah, I guess that makes sense. But yeah, I do think like the newspaper. I'm like the very old Gen Z, young millennial. I'm like right on that, like in between the generations. So like I'm really the last like age bracket of people that actually grew up with before the smartphone era, because I was in elementary school before smartphones, like as like smartphones were becoming a thing, because I started middle school in like 2010. And like the iPhone was out like then, but it wasn't really like people didn't really, it was like a fad. And it was, expensive. So it wasn't like the way it is today where like, 2-year-olds have a freaking tablet and Amazon makes these
Right.
like special, like that wasn't a thing when, we were growing up, right? You wouldn't like the idea like the screen you would be sitting in front of all day was TV when you got home from school. And if you watched anything on TV at school, the teacher would have to wheel the CRT and put in the video cassette or the DVD. That's what it was when I was in elementary school. Um, that's how we would watch things. But yeah, no, oof, man, it brings me back. But that's just something that's completely lost on today's like really young kids, because it's all through screens. So there's really no like the newspaper is a bit in decline. Although I do get like free papers in the mail. Let's see. So oh yeah, the Game Boy handheld was the closest thing we had back then. Like yeah, like I had a Game Boy Advanced. I had a DS. Um, and those are fun to have. Let's see. 2010, the BlackBerry was 1999. That's the first smartphone, you youngster. So yeah, BlackBerry was out in oh yeah, I don't know. BlackBerry is more of like a 2000s thing for me, but I guess 1999. But I can't imagine the BlackBerry in 1999 was that advanced. Like I know PDAs were a thing around then. Like there was the Apple Newton, and there were some other things. I guess the BlackBerry was like that. But yes, I am quite young. So but my argument, PB, is that the smartphones that existed when I was in elementary school were not like what we had today. And we did have this culture where people were like glued to their phones all the time. We also didn't have this like and we didn't also have like the internet was still like viewed kind of how it was in the late 90s, where like it was a cool fad, but it wasn't something anybody would actually do anything on, although that was a lot less the case in the early 2000s, because by then a lot of like banking and bill payment, all that stuff was being moved online, and now people basically do everything on the internet. Like you check your bank account, you pay your bills, you communicate with people. Basically having a smartphone is like a necessity. Like I worked a job for 6 weeks when I was working overnight, and I would check in and clock out, and like my phone with the NFC was the way I got into the freaking building. Like it's basically a necessity if you want to be part of modern society, is to have some sort of smartphone. And it's really accessible. Like you don't have to get the flagship Samsung or iPhone. You can get a cheaper one for less than $200, and can do basically everything the flagships can do. It won't do it as fast or as pretty, but it'll be able to do it. Let's see, the Nokia. Garfield remembers the Nokia N-Gage. They tried to make the handheld into a phone. Yeah, I don't remember it, but I saw the videos about that. It's absolutely hilarious. The N-Gage, where it was a phone and a console. Let's see. So Mike Has Bad News had a Game Gear. That's basically, I think, was them putting a Sega Master System as a handheld, which is honestly a good idea. Um, let's see. Let's see. So Mike is watching this live stream on his phone while the football is on TV. Yeah, that would have been like completely unfeasible to like watch like a live stream, like where like I am broadcasting video, and then you load it onto your phone through an internet connection. That would have been like unfeasible back in 2010. even with Wi-Fi, because the Wi-Fi networks were not advanced enough, like barely advanced enough for video streaming for laptops, well, much less for cell phones. And of course, you could be at a sports bar, Mike, and you could be doing this on 5G or LTE. That would have been impossible on 2G, and 3G was a thing in 2010. But a lot of smartphones were using like Edge, and I think when the first iPhone launched, it was on Edge, and then of course you had the iPhone 3G, and that was around 2010. Let's see. So where did you get that bookshelf that's behind you? And let's see. I'll put you on one.
I'm gonna kind of gatekeep it a little bit because I'm kind of having it be my thing.
Okay, so it is being gate kept, so I cannot do anything about that. So that is NDA. Let's see. So we've been live streaming for about an hour, so it's almost 10. It's getting a bit late for me. So this has been a fantastic conversation. So is there anything else you want to talk about? We've been having a good conversation. But is there anything else, Rippaverse, you wanted to talk about? Because it was a bit open platform, because you're definitely welcome to come back when I come live at the time I'm supposed to come live, and we can talk for a bit longer, because you're always welcome back on. But for now, is there anything else you'd like to say? And if not, we've got Andrew in the shot in the chat here. Let's see. So PB is saying, here's how old I am. When he was a kid in the 70s, like my dad, most phones were still rotary. Cell phone didn't exist. Yes, because the first cell phones came out in the 80s. But you're like probably like my dad's age, PB. So you're definitely an old man. Although the thing is, like, I'm a bit of an old soul. I'm not sure if that's even a term, but like for me, I wish I was like about like 20 years older. Then I feel like I'd be like I would have had like the optimal childhood. But I was born when I was born. That's when God decided to, have me be born. So I can't do anything. So I'm like one of the last people born in the 20th century. And like I said, I remember going to Blockbuster and getting paper reports cards and what flip phones are like. I never really used a rotary phone. My dad actually, when my grandfather were clearing on my grandfather's apartment, he had a rotary phone from probably like the 60s. It's probably older than my dad. And he filmed me making a call on it. That was a bit funny. But I never really used phone booths that much, but I remember phone books. And like I said, I remember video cassettes, and we had the one, the video rewinder we had was shaped like a sports car. But I never really recorded anything on video cassette or did anything like that because I was too young to do stuff like that. But all the Disney movies I watched when I was a kid were on the video cassette. And the thing is, like, you go to Disney World, and you go to the gift shop, they'll have like purses that are shaped like video cassette, holders or video cassette like cases, and that's explicitly for like the Disney adults, and that starts with people my age and older, people who remember watching Hercules and Mulan and Little Mermaid and Lion King on video cassette or even in theaters if you're old enough. Let's see. So ask the Ginger what the next name of the Rippaverse video is going to be on. So what's the next names of the Rippaverse going to be? I haven't watched those, but certainly need to watch those because
you should. So if you guys don't know what the names of the Rippaverse series, that's literally what it means. It literally goes into detail of every single character's names and how it has meaning to every single character and how it relates to that character. My most recent one was Bloodruth, and Andy Andrew keeps poking me, asking me which ones the next ones are, and I'm gonna hold off on that because I don't want to spoil anything. But this last one was Bloodruth, and it was fantastic. I had so much fun doing research on it and everything, and it all so I did the whole Bloodruth family, and I wasn't planning on doing the whole Bloodruth family until I just started to look into it, and it just they all just kind of everything about their names just kind of meshes together, and it's seriously insane. But yeah, go watch the Names of the Rippaverse. I have 5 episodes so far, so it's been fun.
Yeah, fantastic. So, anywhere people can find you on YouTube or such, any links you would like me to share with the audience. So, yeah, no, it is nice to see the next generation into comics. But like I said, PB, I'm a bit of a outlier for the Gen Z because I'm old Gen Z. I was born in '98. So I'm like, you can consider me to be like a really young millennial or an old Gen Z. I like to call myself a boomer zoomer. That's personally how I talk about myself in the generations, but I'm in between Gen Z and millennial. So it makes me like a bit of an outlier. Because like there are things from like the end of the millennial generation that I remember. There are things from like the later Gen Z that I just don't resonate with at all. Um, yes, so yes, 98. I'm a 10 years younger than Andrew. So I think Andrew's every time I mention my age, Andrew just gets more and more scandalized. That how could I be so young, man? But the dude, I've met people, yeah, baby boomers are his parents. Like, yeah, so my parents are basically like at the end of the baby boomer generation. They're more or like the beginning, like Gen X. But man, I've met people born in 2015 when there are people who are like more than 10 years younger than me, like 17 years younger than me, and they're 10 years old, man. And I was talking to like because when I went camping there was a bunch of kids there, and one found out I had a Switch 2, and he brought all of his friends with him to play Smash on my Switch 2. And I was talking to one of like his friends, or I was talking to him, whatever, I can't remember, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I think of you as my mom's age, but I know you're not." I'm like,
Oh, no.
yeah. Yeah, so yeah, baby boomers are late 70s, early 80s old. Yeah, no, I agree with that. But the way the baby boomer generation, it goes from like 45 to 65. My parents are in like born in the mid 60s. So like I said, they're at the tail end of the boomer generation, but they're more like the beginning of the Gen X generation. But that's the thing there. Um, let's see. So but yes, I'm still quite young. So I really was around for like the beginning of like social media. That's the thing I can say. Like I saw the rise of social media, like stuff like Snapchat, stuff like Twitter and Facebook, even though I wasn't like old enough to be on those sites, I still get on all those sites. And of course, like the internet going from like its awkward.com phase to the utility that we know it as today. That's what I know it as. But anyways, this has been a fantastic live stream.
Yeah.
Absolutely love having you on. Definitely want to have you back on. You're welcome to come back on next week. I should be doing at 7. Let's see. It's funny. Originally, baby boomers were 46 to 56, but things changed. But yeah, I think 46 to 56 is more of an apt description. But they change the generations all the time. It's a bit nebulous the way they define generations. And to be honest, if you're defining, let's say, Gen Z from like 1997 to 2012, well, I'm going to have more in common with someone who was born in 1995 or 1991 than I would with someone who was born in 2012. Um, just the way it is. Someone who was born like when I was 14, it's like, well, I remember watching Cars in the theaters, and you weren't even alive back then. So it's like, how can we be part of the same generation, quote unquote? It's a bit, of a nebulous way, but they like to do like 15-year cycles. And then as, you grow up, like when I'm like 50 and that person's, let's say 38 or something like that, then like it becomes less of a gap. I think that's the logic that they're using. But anyways, that's a whole other thing. Been going for a bit over an hour. I'm starting to get a bit tired. Let's see. I don't want to hear it. I saw Aladdin and Lion King in theaters. Yeah, so I was not around back then.
There were theaters back then? No.
Yeah, there were theaters back then. I thought, I thought there was only there's only like, Shakespeare back then, Andrew. I saw Star Wars in a single screen cinema. Yeah, back in '77. That's what my dad said. Like, oh yes, the first date I went on was to take a girl to see Star Wars back in 1977 when it first came out. Like, Mike. But yeah. But anyways, I think everyone here has got to get back to the retirement home. I've got some stuff to do. So thank you again for this. Of course, Ginger Wolf, you can go, I think, Wolverine X on YouTube. When I post the VOD of this, I'll definitely try and get a good link for your YouTube channel. Put that in the description of this. But yeah, check out his content, Names of the Rippaverse, the reviews he makes, all good content. If you like what I'm doing, you're going to like what he's doing. And again, you're welcome back on anytime. But yeah, I think we're out of here unless you have anything else to add.
No, that's it.
Okay, fantastic. You guys have a good night and a great weekend.
Thank you.